Good evening and welcome to the April 1st meeting of the Advisory and Finance Committee at the Great Hall and Town Hall in Plymouth, Massachusetts. This meeting is going to be conducted in a hybrid format with some participants attending physically and others attending virtually via video conference application. The meeting will be on Comcast 9, Verizon 47, or on the local scene streaming channel, www.youtube.com/@Plymouth Meeting SLS. Public comment, any speaker giving public comment is allotted up to 5 minutes in which to speak. Public comment can be made at the beginning or end of each meeting or in regard to a particular agenda item the speaker wishes to be heard on. The Zoom log information is you can attend via the Zoom application, download the application, enter the meeting ID after you press join 995-2986-0638, and the meeting password is 100131. You can go to the Zoom website, zoom.com, and click join a meeting. And again, on the right-hand side, enter the meeting ID 995-2986-0638 and the meeting password 100131. And lastly, you can join via telephone, which will be voice only. Dial 929-205-6099 and enter the meeting ID 995-2986-0638 and enter the meeting password 100131. We'll take attendance now. So we'll begin with Ms. Butler, who I know is ill tonight. Mr. Dunn?
Here.
Mr. Friedman, I know is out tonight. Mr. Jacinto?
Here.
Ms. Keating?
Here.
Mr. Malaguti? All right, Ms. O'Connor?
Here.
Here.
Who said here? Oh, Everett, you're here. Okay, good. I didn't see you. Sorry. I don't see him at all. Okay. Okay, got it. All right, where were we? Mr. Ramey?
Here.
Ms. Reitman?
Here.
Mr. Snyder?
Here.
Ms. Richards?
Here.
All right, Ms. Tompkins is attending a caucus tonight, and Mr. Vecchi, I believe, is attending a caucus tonight as well. So we have quorum. Oh, Mr. Trudell, I'm sorry. Is he here? Not here? Okay. Nope. We still have quorum. Great. Unless any committee members have an objection, I'm going to postpone approval of the March 11 minutes until the end. And we will begin with the first item. I believe Mr. Pennard from the wastewater treatment plant is here to present Article 1, which is a request to for $300,000 to replace, $318,000 to replace the wastewater treatment HVAC. Mr. Pennard.
Good evening, everyone. I'm here to discuss the request for design for the replacement of the wastewater treatment plant HVA system. With this opportunity that came with the special, we were able to put this request in. We weren't ready for the annual because we were still collecting data on what would be the best way to proceed at the treatment plant. It's a 25-year-old system that has been patched and has been degrading over the years. It wasn't really taken care of very well before me coming here. I was explaining to the select board last week that the glycol was in there so long untreated that it became an organic acid, which destroyed the two boilers at the treatment plant and multiple heating units and a lot of the pipe work. We've been, like I said, kind of patching that up, but it's gotten to the point where we can't fix it anymore, and we're actually just putting good money after bad. So we worked with Mike Cahill in Energy and Environment, and we also had discussions with Eversource to look at potential rebates and a more efficient system at the treatment plant instead of just replacing it in kind. So We worked with a consultant to do an analysis and come up with some different design options. Working with those other individuals, like I said, we came up with one, and with the special coming on, we were able to get that information ready for this, and hopefully we can get this project started earlier. My original plan was to come to before the town in the fall to look for design and construction. But with this opportunity, like I said, we'll be able to hopefully get this design process going.
Thank you, Mr. Pinard. Any questions from the committee? All right, well, I have one. Is there now a preventive maintenance program in place to, that, will regularly change out the heating fluid going forward, and is it also plant-wide now?
Yes, so like I said, we've done what we can to patch that and keep it somewhat working. We had some failures again this winter. We had some, one of the sprinkler systems had frozen, but we were able to repair that and again, keep going. But yes, I've replaced, it was last year, we replaced all the glycol and we put an additive in there. And I also have a contractor that comes out and checks it biannually to check the pH. So we don't do any additional damage.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Richards?
Thank you. So this is only for the design, is that correct?
Correct.
Do you have an estimate on how much it's going to cost for the entire project?
Original estimate, again, we will have to put this out to bid and work with the consultant, with the designer, but upwards to 6 million to do the whole plan.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Anyone wishing to make public comment? I see no one virtually. I see no one in the room. All right, would someone, let's see, Mr. Dunn, would you care to move Article 1, Special Town Meeting? Approval of $318,000 for design.
So moved.
All right, and going down the line here, Mr. Jacinto, would you care to second?
Seconded.
Okay, so we have a first and a second. Mr. Snyder, you have your hand up?
Yes, I had a question for
Okay.
the proposal. How seriously bad is this? Is this something, if this doesn't pass special town meeting, are there serious consequences? Can this last another year? Tell us a little bit about because this is a huge bite of $6 million here. This is just the hors d'oeuvre. So I'm just wondering if there's any way we can hold off on this during this tough budget season.
Well, thank you for that question. This is will be coming out of the enterprise, so it doesn't affect free cash. Not that that matters. It's still, like you said, is a lot some money, but it does come out of the enterprise fund. Yeah, I've been trying to keep it working, and it's at the point where I have to do something. Like I said, this winter we had some freezing pipes. Of course, we had a really bad winter, but we have a lot of it isolated, so the whole building doesn't really get efficient heat. And then we're also going to be coming into the summer months where we have to have certain areas of the treatment plant that are cool, the lab area when we do sampling and things like that, lab tests. So yes, and even that we will have to patch for this summer. So it is pretty bad.
Thank you.
I also note that it won't get any cheaper. Other
Very
questions
true.
from the committee? All right, is there further discussion among the committee members? Yes, Ms. Reitman.
$300,000 for the design. Is that because the design is going to be drastically different from the
Correct.
existing design?
Yes.
New technology or?
Yes. So again, the treatment plant and the system, it's original. So it's 25 years old. And like I said, we've worked with Mike Cahill in Energy and Environment. And that was the goal, to try to come up with something that's going to be modern and more energy efficient. And it's going to be a totally different system.
Do you know how much more efficient it's going to be, or the design will show that?
The design should show that.
Okay, thank you.
I note that about 380T is roughly 5% of the guesstimated $6 million budget. That's a pretty low number for design. Typically, I see it around 6 or 7 on a mechanical job, % of total project cost. Other questions from the committee? All right, seeing and hearing none, I'll call the question. Mr. Dunn, how do you vote?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Jacinto?
Yes.
Ms. Keating?
Yes.
Mr. Malaguti?
Yes.
Ms. O'Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Ramey?
Yes.
Ms. Reitman?
Yes.
Ms. Richards?
Yes.
Mr. Snyder?
Yes.
And Mr. Trudell is not here, so I think that's it. Did I get everybody? Okay, great. That motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, next up, we have Mr. Carl Anderson from DPW speaking about police station HVAC replacement project supplemental appropriation, asking for $300,000. Mr. Anderson, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Carl Anderson, Facilities Manager for the town. Facilities Division is requesting a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $300,000 to support additional costs associated with the police station HVAC replacement project. The planning for the Plymouth Police Department HVAC replacement project began in 2021, and the funding awarded in 2022 does not reflect the cumulative price increase of approximately 20% in the last 5 years. The bid request received 3 proposals, 2 of which far exceeded the allotted funding of approximately $1.3 million. And the accepted bid left a small contingency margin of only about $61,000 or 5% of the total cost. It also did not include funds for commissioning. We began the project in earnest on Monday, 3/9, and the award recipient has since identified myriad change orders totaling approximately $200,000, which need to be incorporated into the project. Additionally, the project will require commissioning services to ensure proper functionality upon completion of installation. And we're recommending a third-party commissioning services completed by FST Technical Services. Their proposal in December was in the amount of $25,000.
All right, questions for Mr. Anderson? Yes, Mr. Malaguti.
Yes, thank you. So with the amount being looked for tonight, that also includes any rebates that Eversource is giving us for the actual energy efficiency for the HVAC, correct?
Yes,
Okay, thank you. Also, with this, the funding for this, is this coming from free cash?
it is from free cash, yes.
Okay, thank you. I have something else, but I'm going to save it for discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Malaguti. Any other questions from committee members? All right, seeing and hearing none, is there any member of the public that wishes to speak on Article 2? All right, seeing and hearing none, then I'll call for a motion. Let's see, Ms. Keating, would you care to move Article 2, which is to appropriate a sum of $300,000 for additional funding for the police station HVAC replacement?
So moved.
All right, and Mr. Malaguti, would you care to second?
Second.
All right, we have a first and a second. Is there any discussion among the committee? Yes, Mr. Malaguti, and then Ms. Richards.
I'll actually, Ms. Richards, go first since I just spoke.
She's shaking her head no, so you have the floor, sir.
Certainly. Okay. So, well, While I approve of this project because it's desperately needed for the police station and also for better efficiency and use of tax dollars in the future for energy cost control, I do see this as another repeat of the failure for these projects, as this is the same issue we had with the library not that long ago, where we had to ask for extra money for the entire roof replacement of the South Street Library. And it was a delayed project just like this one. I think, and I know that Mr. Anderson, the entire department is working very diligently with everything, with all the constraints they have. But I feel that there needs to be better look at the priorities for projects when we do fund these in the future, that there needs to be the better scope of tackling these projects firsthand. And if we don't have the manpower, even if it's outsourced manpower, then we shouldn't be vetting these projects for any appropriation until we have the sufficient ability to do so. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Richards?
I knew I wanted Everett to go first, because I'm going to echo what he said. So as I look at the Burke's Law listing, this was approved in 22. So here we are 4 years later and it hasn't been acted on. And again, if we don't have the manpower, we don't have the ability to do these projects at that time, then we should not be requesting the money for it. So I agree with that. And I thought that the balance that we got this past year, Everett, if I'm incorrect, please correct me. That was supposed to be money that was being spent this year or encumbered already. I think it was almost 1.3 million, with a balance of 61,000 in that account. Am I incorrect in my statement?
Yes, I believe it's still encumbered because it's in the process. So it's not fully spent yet because it's partially spent, but not fully spent because the project isn't in the first initial phase of construction.
Okay, but it can't be spent until they get an additional 300,000. Is that correct?
I'll let Carl answer that.
The question, ma'am, you're asking if we can spend the 1.3 and then request the 300,000 at the end?
No, my question is the project dead in the water if you don't get the additional funding?
There would, with certainty, be a delay. And we would have to examine how to proceed. With the project already in progress, that makes it difficult. We would have to wait for fall town meeting or look at ways to reduce the scope of work over the entirety of the project.
Okay, in what ways would you consider reducing the scope of the work?
Fair question. I would have to speak with the project engineer. We've used Fitzmyer and Tachi for this project. The engineer of record is Peter DePerna. I would look to him to advise on what may be excluded or omitted from the project or changed.
And my apologies to the chair. I understand we're in discussion. And thank you.
No, that's fine for where we're at. All right. So we do have a motion on, okay. Okay, so we do, any other discussion from the board, committee rather? All right, seeing and hearing none, I'll go call for the vote. Mr. Dunn, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Jacinto?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Malaguti?
Yes.
Ms. O'Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Ramey?
Yes.
Ms. Reitman?
No.
Ms. Richards?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Snyder?
Yes.
And Ms. Keating, I apologize, I skipped you.
Okay. Yes.
All right. So what do we got? 8 yes and 1 no. Okay. So we have 8 yes, 1 no, and 0 abstentions. The motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. Up next, I believe we have Article 3, the 250th anniversary funding for July 4 Plymouth Incorporated, requesting $50,000 for additional expenses related to this activity this year. And I believe, Mr. Tavares, did you want to make a brief statement, presentation?
So Matt Tavares, I'm here on behalf of the July 4th committee. We aren't the presenters of this article, so I don't know who, so I'm just here to speak on behalf of the committee, as we're in full support of this article for sure.
We'll consider it public comment.
Okay, I was gonna say, I'm not sure where to land here. I'm not the sponsor of the article, so. I know most of you are Town of Plymouth political junkies as well, so you may have seen me speak last night before the select board during public comment. The July 4th committee, a number of years ago, smartly started investing some of our seed money that we would use to begin our fundraising for each year going forward into CDs over time. And unfortunately, with the way fundraising is going within the town of Plymouth, the July 4th committee, to back up significantly, you know, in the 80s and the 90s, it was significantly funded by residents within the community and some from businesses and local businesses within the community. Over the years, that has dwindled quite significantly down. You can think of it this way. There's 62,000 residents in this community. We had 52 individual donations last year. And that's not for a lack of trying on behalf of the volunteers that make up this nonprofit. The year that we had to cancel the 4th of July parade, you can imagine that that number of 52 was not the number of complaints that we heard. It was significantly higher than that. By investing this money in these CDs over the last 4 years, we've actually had to draw down on those CDs to the point where this will be the last year we'll be able to actually be able to do that to cover our deficit. This year, the estimated proposed public safety costs that were given to us from the town this year for the day are $109,500. And when we talk public safety, we're talking DPW, ambulance, fire, police, and sheriff's department. And that's just the town costs, not the cost to actually put on the production, the permitting that we need to do, obviously paying for the fireworks, paying for bands, et cetera. So we've upped our goal of fundraising to $175,000 this year, but we know that over the last 4 years, we've had a total loss or drawdown on our CDs of $87,000 approximately. Just over the last 2 years, we have drawn down $54,010 to cover those costs and to bridge the gap between what's been fundraised and what our bills are, to put on an event that significantly ups the public image of Plymouth. It fills the hotels here, which helps with our hotels and motels tax revenue, which the VSB then uses to fund other programs within this the town of Plymouth and do grant funding. We also are beneficiaries of VSB funds. We're happy to announce that we did receive $60,000 from them this year, but as you can see, that doesn't get us even to the cost of what we have in public safety. So the July 4th committee, you know, we are trying to, for the 250th, make things a little bigger and brighter because it is the 250th and this is America's hometown. But at some point, and as I stated during the select board meeting last night on June 15th, if we haven't reached about probably somewhere between $140,000 and $150,000, one of those two shoes is going to drop for the day. It's either going to be fireworks or the parade. So unfortunately, those are the tough decisions that we have to make, but I felt compelled when I saw this on the agenda this evening to come and explain to you our side of the story. So we would appreciate your support in this article, and obviously we're going to go to town meeting and solicit their support as well. So, and I'm more than happy to stay here for questions. I know there wasn't someone here presenting the actual article. So.
Thank you, sir. All right. Any questions for Mr. Tavares? Yes, Ms. O'Connor.
Just a quick question. The cost for the public safety side of it, is that an increase? Because we're expecting everything to
Yeah,
be busier.
that
and-
we had an increase last year, and this year it's a $20,000 increase.
Mr. Malaguti.
Yes, thank you. So the actual person that sponsored this and the following article was Select Board Member Dicky Quintal, and it was because one, should do something for the 250th, but also since this is a one-time celebration, we sort of got shortchanged 6 years ago with COVID that destroyed our 400th celebration, which would have helped put Plymouth into the limelight for better traction internationally and nationally for tourism. So I think this is a chance not just for better tourism, but also just to give something to our residents. Our residents have been basically nickeled and changed for the past few years, not just through inflation and everything else, but just regular operations of town, operations of their daily household budgets and everything like that. So I think it's one thing we should be able to get them. It's a one-time thing. And I know we are direly looking at every penny that we should be saving on this. But I think it's a good thing. And this is leading to a question, and this is for Matt on here, and it's not regarding this funding, but it's in relation to it. Since we did adopt a couple years ago, I believe now, for the addition onto the property tax bill for an option to check for the the Citizen Taxpayer Relief Fund, I'm wondering if that could be something that we could do for the July 4th and put that little check mark on there if people wanted to donate as well too, for better outreach, but also so people that maybe not be looking at the selectmen's meeting or looking at your Facebook account and your actual webpage for donations, that they can see better opportunity, and maybe it will get some more traction for steadily increasing the individual donors instead of just the ones that have been dwindling over the past few years.
Sure. So I'd like to touch on two things. One thing that Everett stated, and then I'll answer the question if that's okay with you, Mr. Chair. First, Everett talked about, our residents within this community and giving something to them. We also, the July 4th committee has heavily relied on the businesses within this local community. And the businesses within our community are feeling the burden every day of a lot of nonprofits soliciting donations. And we've actually had some businesses that had to say, we're either going to drastically scale back or we can't do anything this year, and possibly years going forward. So just to add that piece to the residents, yes, but also we have to keep in mind that our local businesses actually, well, you heard me, 52 individuals donate. Our local businesses take a large burden of this cost. As far as the checkbox, I think it's a great idea. Anything works. We have Venmo, we have online donations. You can snail mail a check to the P.O. box. I think that's a deeper discussion with the town. I don't know that it has been brought up before. And I don't know necessarily how far it's gone due to the fact that we are, it's one nonprofit on there. Do we do it with other nonprofits in town that also solicit funds? I'm not sure. So I'm definitely open to the discussion, and I'm very open to, being in any meeting or anything like that would put like a little tick box that says donate $1. We take donations. I had a kid give me 50 cents along the parade route, and I didn't really want to take it, but he said he insisted. So there it is.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Mr. Schneider and then Ms. Richards.
Thank you. I'm cognizant of the vote of the selectmen. They voted 3-2 against this. Normally, especially in a tough, excuse me?
It was 3-2 in favor of passing this along.
Oh, okay. I read wrong. Okay, good. I'm glad that happened. Wow. I guess a newspaper got it wrong. Anyway, normally I would not even think about this because I don't think it's something that in a tough climate we should be supporting. But this is the 250th birthday of our country. It comes across one time. We're America's hometown. It seems to me that investing in the parade and the fireworks this year is a good idea. To give it more visibility, it's going to bring more people here. It's going to help businesses. It's going to help Plymouth. It's going to give more recognition. It's I think a win-win for a $100,000 total for both articles. So I support these. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Richards.
Thanks very much. And Matt, I'm not sure if you know this or not, and I'm kind of just throwing this out there. So Everett had mentioned the Plymouth 400, and since that has come and gone, I'm curious as to where that money is going. I'm assuming that the state is still collecting revenue from the license plates. And why is it that we can't dip into some of that money for the 250th celebration? And although I do support these two articles, I would love to find out where the 400 money is gone. My husband keeps asking me where that money is, and I keep telling him that I don't know. So I'm just curious.
So I'm not going to speak for the Plymouth 400 committee, but I will tell you that there was a very elaborate presentation on that at last night's select board meeting. It was an agenda item where, and I'll just speak to that a little bit. Not on behalf of that committee, though. I want to make that abundantly clear.
No, understood. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
They did, it is transitioned into what's called the Plymouth 400 Legacy, and it's still operating. They do have a couple events that they do need to operate every so often to keep the licensing agreements alive on, Illuminate Thanksgiving was a particular event. There's a One Light, One Candle award, and those are all trademarked, licensed events. So they are continuing to do that. They do receive money from how much, I don't really know, from the license plates still. And then they have an operating budget for keeping up with licensing, taxes, et cetera. I would suggest you reach out to Mr. Tony Provenzano if you wanted more detail on that, because I don't want to put my foot in my mouth or anything
if we
like
want to
that.
get deeper on this, Ms. Richards will need to invite them for a presentation at a future meeting.
Sure. And then
I'm
lastly to
I'm
that,
gonna
though.
suggest that we put that on the agenda.
Yeah,
for
and
the
lastly
future.
to that, though, when you talked about dipping into the money, I was actually sitting in the same chair I was sitting in the audience last night during that presentation, and they do actually put out grants, and Mr. Provenzano looked directly at me. How much the grant funding is that they have, I don't know. So between last night and today, I have not reached out to him yet, but that is on my immediate to-do list, to reach out to him to see what that process is and possibly if we can get a little bit of money there. But that's, again, a grant process, an approval process. I need to know sooner than later.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Keating?
Hi, I just wanted to confirm some of the numbers. So your fundraising goal is 175,000, or your overall budget?
Our fundraising goal this year is $175,000. Yeah,
Okay.
and that was a significant bump up from when we first announced our fundraising goal, and that happened within like the last 2 weeks due to what we saw as budgeting numbers coming in. Yeah.
Okay, and with the 52 donations, where are you at right now?
Right now, we have $60,000 from the VSB. Depending on town meeting, the town manager line budget for town celebrations,
Yep.
we do receive a portion of that. Typically, that's around $10,000. I haven't looked at like the breakdown of the 40 that's in there. And then we typically get from PGDC about $5,000. Donations wise so far this year, I know just last night after being in front of public comment, we got about $300 in. But I would say we're probably close to like about $80,000 now
Okay, so there's still.
With
a
those
significant-
committed from PGDC, the
Okay.
town manager, I'd say about $80,000. I mean, who knows what happens on town meeting floor, right? So,
Yeah, okay, so there's still a significant gap. And then
correct.
you said your CDs are pretty drawn down.
Yeah, I'm not going to
so-
offer up what's left in
Yeah,
those,
right.
but I can give you the numbers for what
No,
we've drawn
it's
down
okay.
on
I'm
those, yeah.
just wondering, do you foresee then next year needing to request
If we don't-
additional funds again?
I would say that this request would be extremely helpful so that we don't have to draw down. If we don't receive this request and something else happens, or there's an increase, these are estimated proposed public costs. As Selectman Quintal said, or Select Board Member Quintal said last night, the town of Plymouth, the Thanksgiving parade and the 4th of July parade are considered by public safety throughout the state as high profile events. So if we need more security, somebody decides to come and we have, I don't know if people have walked the parade route before, but we have very high security. We have security on roofs. If something has to go up, we have to share that burden. So I'm looking at a proposed cost, but if anything were to happen and this article doesn't go through, I would caution, as I did the select board last night, that if we have to draw down on that CD, use our seed money that we try and save each year, we're going to be at literally zero for 2027. And I don't know that there's a huge desire to go from zero to $180,000.
Okay, and then.
Or it'll probably be more next 2027.
Right. And I think I remember, maybe some other people who were on the committee could remember, I believe that for the police budget, they did increase some of the lines for these events for overtime.
We
Do you
did.
remember that?
I did
So-
ask for a breakdown from the town manager, and I apologize. I haven't read through. He went back just because I need to sell it to the July 4 committee as well. I asked for some breakdowns, and I know that the only one I was able to read through, I haven't gotten through each departments yet, but the police did need to increase feet on the ground, if you will, or I don't know, but they did increase their,
Right, okay.
do that.
Mr. Ramey.
So I was going to ask something along those lines, but
Sure.
also, is this year more expensive because it's a more high profile year, or no?
I mean, we saw an increase last year in public safety costs, and the reason why we're also trying to increase our fundraising goal is also because we're trying to make a few more lights in the sky on the evening. We want to really improve the fireworks display as well, and that was our big sell to before we got this budget to the Visitor Service Board, was that it is the 250th, so either whether that means longer or more, and we're working with our pyrotechnic company as to what that might be. They're very well. We've been working with this pyrotechnic company for over 30 years. Well, no, how old am I? 47 years. So they know what we're looking for. They know what we can potentially do, and they've come back to us with ideas. But they're also ready to scale it back if need be. But even at that point, our committee's going to need to make a decision between parade, fireworks, both. There is a drop dead date on one or the other or none, or both.
And you said about $140,000 would be that number. I know your overall goal is 175,000, but
that'll cover the 109.5, and that'll cover our fireworks and parade cost if we get to the 175, and then we won't have to dip into reserves that are barely anything. So.
maybe I misheard you, but I thought at one point you said if you didn't get like 140, you'd have to pick.
By June 15th, if we're not at 150,000 of that fundraising goal, we're going to have to make a decision. And really that's out of common courtesy to people to make plans, because that's 2 weeks out. I mean, personally, I'd like to say by June 5th, so you give people a month to make different plans or whatever. And that's just a courtesy thing. Plus, we also have to notify the departments, because at some point, the police department needs to know, because they're scheduling out their shifts.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Tavares, for standing up for this? All right, any member of the public wish to make a public comment? I see no one in the room, no one virtually. So with that, I think we're down to, we're up to, who made the last? set of motions? So, Ms. O'Connor, would you care to move Article 3?
So moved.
All right, and Mr. Ramey, would you care to second?
Seconded.
All right, we have a first and a second. Have you got that, Jeanette? Great, okay. Any discussion among the board? Yes, sir, Mr. Dunn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to vote yes on this, and I just wanted to say thank you to Matt and the rest of the committee for everything that they do every year, putting on a great parade and fireworks. I would vote yes on giving them $50,000 every year, honestly. There's a lot of communities around this state and around the country who pay for these events out of taxpayer money. I think we're really lucky that we have a group like this, like July 4th Plymouth, that puts this on for us. So I'm definitely going to vote for this, and thank you guys for everything that you do.
Ms. Richards.
That was my hand clapping.
Oh,
I
okay.
agree with, I
I saw
agree
it
with
floating
Mr.
up there,
Dunn.
but I didn't quite see the flying clapping hands, so. All right, Ms. O'Connor.
Just piggybacking on that quickly, there's probably a very positive economical impact that far exceeds the 50,000 that we would be allocating here. So I'm also in favor of this.
All right, any further discussion? Mr. Malaguti.
Thank you. As I stated earlier, I am fully in support of this. It brings not just joy for the residents and for the tourists that come in that time, but it's also a draw for the businesses to help bolster not just during the busy season, but to help them shoulder over the rest of the year, where sometimes we usually get slumps, and businesses as well as residents have been struggling for at least the past 3 to 4 years. I think this is something that we need to do, not just for them, but to showcase Plymouth throughout the entire nation as well too, for our one-time 250th anniversary. And Matt, I would like to join you if you want to get that check mark on the box for property taxes. I will fully support that, and I will spearhead that if you'd like.
He gave a thumbs up, Mr. Malaguti. All right, any further comments from the committee? All right, seeing and hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Jacinto? He may have had to leave on a call, okay. Ms. Keating?
Yes.
Mr. Malaguti?
Yes.
Ms. O'Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Ramey?
Yes.
Ms. Reitman?
Yes.
Ms. Richards?
Yes,
Mr. Snyder?
Yes.
All right, I think we have unanimous. 800. Thank you, Mr. Tavares. All right, next item before us is Article 4, to raise and appropriate $50,000 for funding for America's Hometown Thanksgiving Celebration, the 250th anniversary. I see no one here to present on that article. And opportunity for public comment. I see no one here. So Ms. Richards,
I would move the question.
all right,
I
so
would
Ms.
move the
Richards
article.
moves, and Mr. Snyder, would you care to second? I cannot hear you, sir, you're muted.
Seconded.
Okay, we have a second, first from Ms. Richards, a second from Mr. Snyder. Is there any discussion among the committee? All right, seeing and hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Mr. Dunn?
Yes, although I feel bad for Matt. He had to go through all that, and they don't.
All right, well, you're a very thoughtful guy. Mr. Jacinto is still out. Ms. Keating?
No.
All right, Mr. Malaguti?
Yes.
Ms. O'Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Ramey?
No.
Ms. Reitman?
Yes.
Ms. Richards?
Yes,
All right, Mr. Snyder?
Yes.
All right. We're just checking the tally here. All right, 5 yes, 2 noes, no abstentions. Oh, we need to have 6 votes. All right, 6 to 2, sorry, and no abstentions. All right, motion carries. All right, we're going to jump to Article 9, which is the solar credit energy contracts. Mr. Mike Cahill from DPW is here to present.
Let me just change my slides up.
Sure.
So good evening. Thank you for having me. Michael Cahill, Climate Resiliency and Sustainability Planner for the town. Today, we're going to talk about Spring Special Town Meeting Article 9. I came before you with 6 additional PPAs within the original town meeting warrant. With the state of federal tax credits expiring July, this spring town meeting warrant gave us an opportunity to squeeze one last project in to still receive credits for those projects. We currently have 5 PPAs in place for the town, all under the school department. This is a similar arrangement to 3 of those 5. This is an alternative on-bill solar credit. Essentially, how this works, we'll be working with Kearsarge, who's a large developer based out of Boston. They have over 350 megawatts within their portfolio. They have over 62 PPAs within municipalities across New England. The project will be located on public lands located in Walpole, Massachusetts. This will be an out-of-town array, and essentially the way they will work is similar to other PPAs. Will be a discounted energy rate on our electricity bills each month. This project is already fully executed the interconnection agreement. Kearsarge will design, permit, finance, own, and maintain this site in Walpole. Permitting is complete already, and construction is expected to begin in Q2 of 2026. And this project is expected to come online in Q4 of 2026. At that point, we would start to begin receiving these credits on our bills. Similar to the other PPAs, this will be a 20-year agreement. You can see here the layout of the site in Walpole. It's going to be located on a landfill, and this is the expected generation per kilowatt hours each year within that 20-year agreement. At the end of the 20 years, it comes out to, testing my eyesight here, but I believe it's 162 million kilowatt hours, excuse me. And then the way that this agreement will be set up, it will be a fixed 12% discount for each kilowatt hour that's generated and used within our public facilities. The electricity generated on this site should be able to provide us enough power to go to 20, between 20 and 25 of our large buildings. Once we move forward with this agreement, we will allocate exactly where those credits are going to which buildings. And in terms of an annual savings that we can expect about $155,000 annually in electricity costs. And over the 20-year agreement, it will come out to $3.5 million.
Before you leave that slide, explain to us what AOBC stands for.
Alternative on-bill credit. And then finally, similar to the other PPAs, this article gives the select board the authority to execute this agreement. At that point, it would go back before the select board. They would vote on the specific plan, but this article will solely give the select board the ability to do that. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions from the committee? All right, I have one. How does the energy price, the commodity cost compare to normal non-solar costs? Are we paying for the RECs as well? Are we retiring the RECs in this scenario?
Yeah, so the way this works is it's based on a 12% discount on our electricity rate contract that's already in place. So as our contract goes up with electricity prices increasing over time, that fixed cost will remain the same.
Okay. So this is just for the commodity then, not
Correct.
transportation?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Other questions? Anyone from the public wish to make a comment? I don't see anyone in the room or remotely. So seeing and hearing none, I'll ask for a motion. I think, are we, Ms. Reitman, would you care to move Article
Yes.
9? All right, I have a first from Ms. Reitman. Ms. Richards, would you care to, actually, let's go to Mr. Yeah, Ms. Richards, would you care to second that motion?
Second that motion.
All right. We have a first from Ms. Reitman, a second from Ms. Richards. Is there any discussion among the committee? All right, seeing and hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Mr. Dunn, how do you
Yes.
vote? All right, yes from Mr. Dunn. Mr. Jacinto is still not with us. All right, Ms. Keating,
Yes.
Mr. Malaguti,
Yes.
all right, Ms. O'Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Ramey,
Yes.
Ms. Reitman,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes.
Mr. Snyder.
Yes.
All right. Votes unanimous. 900.
Thank you.
800. All right, thank you very much, sir. And last but not least is the Honorable Kevin County Select Board member here to talk to us about Articles 5 through 8. And thank you for letting Mr. Cahill go first.
Okay, thank you. Seemed only fair to let him go first since we made him wait a long time last night at our meeting. Anyways, I'm here to talk to you about Articles 5, 6, 7, 8 for those musically inclined, or Articles 5, 6, 7, and 8 for those that are tone deaf. This is an effort to improve the town's budgetary process. There we go. So you may ask what the proposal is. These are all 4 interrelated articles, so it only makes sense to vote for one of them if you're going to vote for all 4 of them. Doing any individual component of them would actually create problems. So with that in mind, they should be treated as a group. Right now, spring annual town meeting currently occurs in April, as we are all aware. The town is going to be increasingly dependent on state aid as a source of new revenue in the years ahead. Over the last several years, upwards of 40% each year of our new growth revenue is derived from new buildings being constructed in Red Brook and Pine Hills. The Red Brook and Pine Hills developments are going to be at build-out in the next 2 to 3 years. So those numbers there will drop significantly, which means your new growth number as a community is going to drop significantly. That's important because with Proposition 2.5, you have last year's budget plus new growth plus 2.5% is the maximum increase you can do over your prior year's tax levy without needing an operational override. And we have been able to avoid an operational override over the last many, many years because new growth numbers were very strong. But the town, despite currently being 426 years old and building in it constantly, we are starting to approach, in the not too distant future, build out as a community more broadly. And certainly with the loss of Pine Hills and Red Brook, the loss of our biggest single sources of that new growth, we are going to be increasingly dependent on other sources of new revenue besides new growth, and that will mean state aid. State aid is generated through the state budget process. State budget process starts in January. Governor releases his or her budget. That budget then works its way through the state house and state senate chambers and their various committees, most importantly being Ways and Means. Ways and Means produces their reports on the budget in May. Each year is part of their cycle, And that, although it is not the final number, it is very close to what the final number is. Sometimes it is the final number. That is then voted on by the state to be passed into law as the state budget to take effect July 1st, just like the town's fiscal year, the state fiscal year lines up with that. And having a better idea of what the state aid number from the state will be will help with the budgetary process in Plymouth, because we will be going into town meeting with more reliable data. Because if we underestimate state aid based on outdated information from, say, the governor's budget in January, we may, like last year, the governor's budget in January wasn't that great. And then when it made its way through the Senate and the House, it was significantly better for municipalities. If we had been very dependent upon that money, that could have led to reductions in services, which is a code word for the most part for layoffs, because we would be dependent upon that money in order to continue funding a level service budget, which is what we typically do in the community. And if that state aid if we don't have reliable information, we could be potentially laying somebody off, or more than one individual, several individuals off, just to make up for money that then later comes about in the process, which would be problematic and lead to significant issues operationally. Moving town meeting into May so that we have better data when we are making our decisions would avoid that possibility. And if town meeting is moved into May, it would therefore be prudent to move your local election into June. You folks have been meeting for the last 3-4 months to talk about the budget process as well as the town meeting articles, so that when people walk into Plymouth North on the now second Saturday in April, they will come in informed and educated on what they're voting on, how you guys have and girls have talked about the budget, what your recommendations are. And you want to have people that are aware they're going to be sitting at that town meeting throughout the process, so that you have as many people as informed as possible. We all know that not 100% of town meeting members watch every meeting. Some people do walk into town meeting and open their books up, but we're not planning for that. We're planning for the people that do want to be informed, pay attention, and by moving the election into June, we guarantee that as many town meeting members are informed as possible through the process. We also avoid any complications with town meeting and the election conflicting, or with the inability to focus on both the campaign for the election as well as preparing for town meeting. So for those reasons, that is what the overall proposal is. It is made up of 4 articles, 5, 6, 7, and 8. There are 2 changes to the charter. There are 2 changes to the general bylaws. Article 5, in short, would amend the charter to move the local election from the 3rd Saturday in May to the 2nd Saturday of June. About 10 years ago, the local election was moved to get it away from Mother's Day weekend. The 2nd Saturday of June moves it away from town meeting, a town meeting in May, but also avoids it being on Father's Day weekend, because that is the companion holiday to the one we already tried to avoid, and it seems prudent to continue to try to avoid it. Article 6 would amend the charter in order to expand the window that spring town meeting can be held within. Article 7 would amend the general bylaws to set the default date for spring town meeting as the 3rd Saturday in May. So you'll notice that that is the day that the election currently is, which is one of the reasons to move the election. The other important note here is the default date. This town meeting that we are preparing for was originally going to be the Saturday earlier than it currently is scheduled to be, because in October, we voted to move it. This will allow town meeting to continue to move it within the expanded window as they see fit, because holidays change, information change, so we could move it even later. That's why it's the default date would be the 3rd Saturday in May. But depending on where Memorial Day weekend falls, you may want to move it later in May. And it would be up to town meeting to do that, and that could happen every October to adjust, because obviously we would have that information. We technically have the information now, but writing it out in verbose prose would take a while for all possible years. And then we get into Article 8, which would amend the general bylaws once again, this time to change the date that the spring town meeting warrant closes. Currently, the closing date of the warrant is to accommodate a town meeting that is held in the current schedule. If we're going to adjust the date at which town meeting occurs, it makes sense to modify the warrant closing date. Moving this allows for you folks in your review of the articles, you'll still have the same amount of time in order to do your work, but it allows town meeting to have more informed information when they're making their final vote. And it also affords the select board, before we hand over the budget to your committee, more time on our side, because in some years, our review of the budget is somewhat cursory. We have a presentation on it, a couple of presentations on it usually, but it's at high levels. We don't go into typically the level of detail that this committee does. However, what we plan to do as part of our modified proposed budgetary review process is to spend the time before we hand the budget over to you, which would now be more in February as opposed to in January, doing our own review of the proposals from the different subcommittees about what that budget would be, so that by the time it gets on your desks, so to speak, it has already undergone a review by an elected body, separate from town management. Town manager produces the budget based with the department heads, then the select board and school committee reviewing the superintendent's budget they pass it on to you guys, but there's typically currently a lower level of review than we would like to see in the future on our side. So this would give us the time to do that level of further review prior to the handoff as well. So that is the overall proposal. And then I have, for your viewing pleasure, each of the articles themselves. So there's a bunch of legalese in black at the above, but the relevant section there, this Article 5 is a charter amendment. It modifies this section, elections, Section 1, town elections 5-1-1. The regular election for all town offices shall be by official ballot held on the second Saturday of June of each year. You can see the struck through text has been deleted. That would be what that does. Article 6 modifies again in black all the legalese for the article, but the relevant bold red text. The legislative branch representative town meeting, Section 4, procedures 2-4-1. The first such meeting, the spring annual representative town meeting, shall be convened during the period of March through June. Currently, it's March through April at a time fixed by bylaw. Again, Article 7, legalese up top. The deleted text, the current text of the general bylaws in this section is not the most readable text because it currently contains a lot of previously deleted text that has been retained. So rather than forcing you to read that, I just struck through all of it and rewrote it so that it's relevant and readable at the bottom. And this is what would be replacing it. The town meeting shall meet annually on the third Saturday in May and at such other times as may be determined by the vote of town meeting. That retains the ability to move it like we did this year. Same language. The regular election for all town offices shall be by official ballot held in accordance with the town charter. The fall town meeting shall convene on the third Saturday in October, provided, however, that the select board may, consistent with Massachusetts general law, delay the date of the said fall annual town meeting to a date no later than November 30th. And then, last, but certainly not least, since it is a package, we have Article 8, the relevant text again in red. The annual town meeting warrant. The annual town meeting warrant shall be closed by the select board no later than the third Friday in January, rather than the third Wednesday in December. Shall be the duty of the select board to transmit a complete draft of the warrant to each member of the FinCom and the chairman of the committee of precinct chairs within 15 days after the close. Shall be the duty of the advisory finance committee to transmit a complete draft of the warrant to each town meeting member no later than February 1st of such year. So that is the proposal. Those are the words that would enact it. I am available for questions. elections.
Ms. O'Connor.
Other than it's the way we've always done things, what's the argument against this?
Well, so far, I haven't encountered any myself. I think what you stated, that we've always done it this way and people fear change. But I think that as we reach build out and as our new revenue sources are more limited, the benefits of having more reliable information outweigh the potential discomfort that people have about making changes. One could speculate that maybe they would like an election in May better than an election in June, but the second Saturday of June is still a week that kids are in school, so the number of people, and plus now over 50% of voters are voting early in-person voting or voting by mail. So I don't find that to be particularly convincing on my side of the equation. But so far, no opposition. Maybe we'll hear some tonight.
Thank you.
Mr. Balaguti.
Yes, thank you. So that actually leads into my question. So with moving the election into June, and with the way that we have voting right now of different platforms for mail-in voting, in person and early, how has the trajectory been for percentage of voter turnout in the past 3 to 4 years since the mail-in voting and early elections? Has it increased voter turnout or has it stayed stagnant? Because my rationale for this question is I feel if we move it into June, it's going to deplete voter turnout even more since we're getting towards the summertime and people have already started planning vacations well before June. And we may actually have a lesser amount of people choosing who's going to lead the town of Plymouth.
Sure. So in last year, the number of polling places was reduced and the number of early in-person voting days was expanded by 1. And opponents of that proposal feared that voter turnout would be reduced. But in actuality, voter turnout increased. It is not, in my opinion, the responsibility of the town to get people to come out to vote. Because the town just holds an election and makes sure that people have access. It's really the responsibility of the people running for office to get people to go out to vote, because you can only get elected if people vote for you, so it helps to have people do that. But the data suggests that in recent years it has been increasing, and because it increased when we had the Charter Commission 3 years ago, it was a little reduced 2 years ago, but there was only one candidate running for select board at the time, and typically top of the ballot races bring out more people. There was one candidate for one position, but there was still a healthy number of people that did come out to vote. The year after that was last year, where we had the most people we've seen in certainly in my memory in a local election come out to vote, and we are seeing again the trend upwards in alternatives to election day voting, be that mail-in ballot voting or early in-person voting, that would suggest that the particular day that the election is less important than the access to reasonable accommodation means in order to cast your ballot in a way that works for you. And again, this is before school is out, so unless people are pulling their kids out of school, they probably, if they have school-age kids, not everybody does, if they have school-age kids, then it's unlikely they would be on vacation at this range, even if they want to be an election day in-person voter.
Other questions? Mr. Ramey.
So, not to belabor this June election issue too much, but has anyone ever explored having an election, but then having the actual date that you take office be later to avoid having a summertime election where people might be less inclined to turn out?
Well, we haven't looked into that. I'm not sure if we could do that in the town of Plymouth, on the municipal level. I would say that would also, say you had the election prior to town meeting, right? And then some people lost their seat. That would probably reduce turnout at that town meeting where people are lame ducks and are like, well, if they don't want me to come and ruin my Saturdays anymore, I'll start now. So I think that, I'm not sure if it's legally possible to do that, but even if it were, I think instead of a turnout issue, you'd have an attendance issue, which would create different problems.
Just that. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Other questions for Mr. Canty? Oh, Ms. Reitman.
Going back to the reason to, for moving the town meeting. If you could elaborate on how much of a difference it really represents from the cherry sheets being issued in January and then finalized in June.
Sure.
So having it in May, what difference would it really make?
So it varies from year to year, but in some years it has varied by hundreds of thousands of dollars. So that could be the difference between a new initiative being possible or not. It could be the difference between being able to retain multiple employees or not, or to perform a necessary project or not. And the amount that state aid varies through the process is inherently unpredictable, but just in recent years, it has been a delta between January and the final passage of it in June of hundreds of thousands of dollars.
So having it in May, not in June, what benefit do you see? Like,
Because it will have made its way through Ways and Means, which is a much more reliable point of information than leaving the governor's desk, which is before any substantial committee in the State House has had an opportunity to review it, let alone the most important in regards to the budget, that being the Ways and Means of the State House and the State Senate.
Thank you. I'm just doing some research online, and it looks like for 2026, there has been 18,632 adjustment, which is essentially a rounding error. But you're saying that it is possible that the cherry sheets could change for hundreds of thousands between
Correct.
January and
Yes, it
June.
happens fairly often because different legislators will, in different committees, will lobby for their priorities in their district, but they're also lobbying with and sometimes against their colleagues for that consideration. So it can ebb and flow through the process, and different committees have a more meaningful impact on that. And for right now, we're not in May, obviously, we're still at the very beginning of April. So there's still a significant amount of runway ahead of the current budgetary process.
So you think that after the Ways and Means Committee convened, at this point, it's going to be way more accurate and there's going to
Yes.
be no major changes? in the June?
Traditionally, there are no significant changes between Ways and Means final budget and the whole chamber budgets.
Okay, just questioning the timing.
Yes.
Because obviously when it's finalized, that's when you have the real numbers.
Correct. But so under state law, we have to pass a budget by June 30th. So we don't want to run it too far up against that. And plus, we don't really want to push the election back much farther anyways. So this is far enough back to have reliable information without creating too many headaches in terms of if we did have the election during the actual summer, I do think that you could have a credible reason to worry about turnout at that point.
Do you see the change in how the budget is constructed? Right now, we have significant, like in March, we already have a budget, right?
Right.
How would this process change?
So your process for the budget would be moved back about a month or so, but you would still have the same amount of time in order to complete your work. And our process with it prior to giving it to you would change. We would bring in on a weekly basis 1 or 2 subcommittees worth of department heads to talk about their budget and what's happening with it. Why is there this increase, this decrease? What's the justification for that? Currently, what the select board has done for years and years is we have a meeting where it's sort of given to us, and a very brief presentation is done, and then we have another single meeting to review it and vote upon it. And then it's turned over to the FinCom with the school committee's budget at a date in mid-January to late January. This will allow, but there's very little opportunity for substantive in-depth review of that budget from the select board in the current calendar. So we're trying to give ourselves more time, and we would give the school committee more time on their side of the equation as well, for us to do a first round of substantive review before the FinCom does their second round of it.
Okay, so you feel that there's no impact on the process itself?
Other than not for your process. Your process would just move back in the calendar. I think it would provide an opportunity for more eyes on the budget to see what it's doing and what we want to do with it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Snyder.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This makes a lot of sense. As sitting on finance committees in 3 different towns now, we all have the same thing where it's a guessing game. The town managers try as hard as they can to come up with a reasonable budget. They send it to the select board, they send it to the finance committee. And meanwhile, at the State House, things are scrambled and they're really not illustrated until at least May. So it makes a lot of sense to kind of push things back a little bit. I actually, I support this.
Thank you.
All right, others? So what further approval is required, say at the state level, beyond town meeting just approving this?
Well, so the charter changes would be special legislation, so they would go to the State House to be passed, but we've already checked about the legality of this, so it has to go through that process. We work with our state delegation to move it through those chambers. And then the bylaws, they go to the Attorney General's office, and they are approved by them. We've already talked to the Attorney General's office about our ability to do that. So it's just a matter of sending the paperwork over, talking to the folks at each of those entities and making sure that it gets out of the inbox and on their desk and going.
So in other words, would this be in effect for 2027 calendar year?
It could be. It depends. The general bylaws would, but the charter changes, we would work with the state delegation to move it quickly. But it can take 12 to 18 months for legislation to go through, special legislation to go through. These are relatively straightforward changes, so we would hope it would go through as quickly as possible. But if it doesn't, the changes mid-change allow us to still operate in the interim.
So my concern is, and this is in in the land of the road to hell is paved with good intentions, there's been zero opportunity to socialize this with the town, at least from my perspective. And my concern is, I don't mind change. I just hate changing, as Ms. O'Connor suggested. So I'm just worried that we're rushing into this without proper socialization with the town. And is there a harm in deferring this until fall town meeting, other than it would be a little bit later? So
There is, yes. Because the longer that you do it, the longer that it takes for you to do it, the worse the situation on the ground here in Plymouth is going to be. So you could miss an entire budgetary cycle from doing that. Also, the select board has talked about this for well over a month at our meetings. We also produced our own recommendation packet because your meeting last week was moved from last week to this week so that we could talk to the precinct caucus members that we were before. And myself, Ms. Iaquinto, and Mr. Cohen have been going around to caucuses to talk to caucus members about the special town meeting articles, including 5, 6, 7, and 8, intentionally to message and socialize it to the people that need to deliberate and determine it, so that they can talk amongst themselves and they can also talk to their constituents about it.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from the committee? All right, I think then I will go back to Mr. Snyder and ask Mr. Snyder, would he care to move articles? I think I'll have to, do I have to vote on them each one separately?
I
think?
mean, I would suggest you do them as a group because it doesn't make sense to do them individually,
All right.
but it's up
Well,
to you.
Mr. Snyder, would you care to consolidate Articles 5 through 8? Make a motion to do that.
I would move to approve Articles 5, 6, 7, and 8.
Now, we're going to consolidate first on a vote, and then we'll take a vote on the consolidated package. So
Okay?
if your motion is to consolidate, thank you, sir. And Mr. Dunn, would you care to second? Right, any discussion among the committee? Seeing and hearing none. Mr. Dunn, how do you vote on the consolidation?
Yes.
Mr. Jacinto?
Yes.
Ms. Keating?
Yes.
Mr. Malaguti?
Yes.
Ms. O'Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Ramey?
Yes.
Ms. Reitman?
Yes.
Ms. Richards?
Yes.
Mr. Snyder?
Yes.
All right, that motion carries unanimously. Now on for approval of the package of Articles 5 through 8. Let's see, Mr. Jacinto, would you care to move that?
So moved.
All right, and Ms. Keating, would you care to second?
Second.
All right, we have a first from Mr. Jacinto, a second from Ms. Keating. Any discussion from the board? Seeing and hearing, Mr. Malaguti.
Yes, thank you. I will be voting no on all 4 of these articles. And my rationale is that I don't believe that the town or any municipality should be changing how they operate because of the failure of the state to operate their legislature to pass a budget in a timely frame that others have to. We have neighboring states that do it much more quickly than ours do. We take till basically almost the last minute in the state to do that. So I think it's not prudent for us to cater to the state. I think the state should cater to how the towns operate. So I will be voting against this on that principle.
All right, I think Mr. Dunn was next, and then Ms. Richards.
I just want to say, first of all, personally, I hate this. I hate change, but I think I'm going to vote for it because it makes sense. Even though it makes me uncomfortable. I also want to say that, just to Everett's point in general, I've worked in the state legislature for years. I'm a registered lobbyist right now. I work with the state legislature on a regular basis for as long as I've been involved in state government, which is since 2007 when I worked for Terry Murray when she was Senate President. The House has taken up the budget in April. The Senate has taken up the budget in May. This is not anything new. I don't think the state is going to adjust for the town of Plymouth. So I think if we're going to get this information, we're going to have to adjust to what the state's timeline is. I think it's possibly make people like myself uncomfortable. But if we have this additional information and it can help us to create a budget that's more responsive to the needs of the town and allows us to undertake projects that we might not otherwise be able to undertake, that I'm fully supportive of it. So I'm going to vote in favor of it.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn. Ms. Richards?
I will also be voting in favor of this for all of the reasons that Mr. Dunn just gave. For us to get the information in a timely manner so that we can make proper decisions for the people in Plymouth is vital. And we're not going to get it in timely fashion from the state, so we need to make the adjustment. Thank you.
All right, any further discussion from amongst the committee? Seeing and hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Mr. Dunn, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Jacinto?
Yes.
Ms. Keating?
Yes.
Mr. Malaguti?
No.
Ms. O'Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Ramey?
Yes.
Ms. Reitman?
Yes.
Ms. Richards?
Yes.
Mr. Snyder.
Yes.
All right, I think we have 8 yes, 1 no, no abstentions. The motions, the articles carry. Thank you very much, Mr. Candy, for your time and effort on this.
Thank you all, I appreciate it.
All right. Has anyone had a chance to read and approve of the minutes of March 11th? Are there any additions, deletions, corrections? All right. Let's see. Ms. Keating, would you care to move the minutes of March 11th?
So moved.
All right. Mr. Malaguti, would you care to second?
Seconded.
All right. Any discussion? Mr. Dunn?
I have one quick comment that I want to make, and I think town meeting members received a email from Rich Cirque today saying that when we voted on Article 10, we didn't know what we were talking about and we were confused. I just want to clarify that we were not confused. We took a 13-0 vote. People can read the minutes and see what our arguments were. But Mr. Cirque, I think, is out of line talking about us being confused, and I think if anyone's confused, it's him.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn. Any further discussion? All right, seeing and hearing none. Mr. Dunn, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Jacinto?
Yes.
Ms. Keating?
Yes.
Mr. Malaguti?
Yes.
Ms. O'Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Ramey?
Yes.
Ms. Reitman?
Yes.
Ms. Richards?
Yes.
Mr. Snyder?
Yes.
All right, the minutes of March 11th are approved. Couple things here. I don't think we have anything to review or reconsider this evening. Ms. White, when will the minutes for tonight be ready? I mean, is it worth having a quick meeting on? Okay, you don't need the minutes approved before town meeting? Okay, great. With that said then, our next meeting right now looks like it will be Saturday morning at 7 o'clock. We need you to hold that space in time in case something last minute comes up.
We usually do 7:30. but
All
we're
right,
gonna do 7.
7:30 then, and that would be in the art room at Plymouth North High School where we met last fall. So we do need a quorum that morning. So if you can't attend, please let Jeanette and I know for whatever reason. So there's that. How the caucus meeting's been going? Anything? Anybody want to share?
They've been great.
Okay, great. Wonderful. They were certainly hard to schedule. All right. Well, any other things that we wish to discuss? This is the last. Oh, Mr. Malaguti.
Yeah, so I just, two quick items. One, I would like to, agree with Ms. Richards. I think we should have, even though there was a presentation last night, I think we should have a quick, discussion with the 400th, just so we can see the funding, where that's going and what possibility, that will be in the future. And then the other thing that I have quickly is I would like to thank the other members of the committee that reached out to me when I wasn't able to attend our caucus last night. And I would like to greatly appreciate the people that were able to respond and attend the caucus for me. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Mr. Malaguti. All right, so we'll see when it might make sense to understand the Plymouth 400. It might be perhaps a June or May meeting item. We'll see how the schedule shakes up. Generally, we like to take a breath after town meeting, so. But certainly, we'll be meeting perhaps in June for reorganization. All right, the last opportunity for public comment? Seeing and hearing none. All right, then the favorite motion of the evening. Let's see who gets to do the honors tonight. Let's see. Ms. Reitman, would you care to move to adjourn?
Yes.
Okay. And Ms. Richards, would you care to second?
I'll happily second.
Okay. And we have a first, a second. I doubt there's any discussion other than please do your best to attend town meeting either virtually or in person. Mr. Dunn, how do you vote on adjournment?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Jacinto,
Yes.
Ms. Keating,
Yes.
Mr. Malaguti,
Yes.
Ms. O'Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Ramey,
Yes.
Ms. Reitman,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes.
Mr. Snyder.
Yes.
We are adjourned at 20:29, 1 minute before 8:30.